Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Today we are gonna make an online text editor, kind of like Google Docs, where you can create an account and then create your documents, edit and format them, and then you can print those documents. So even if you log into a different device, you can access your documents, modify them or print them. We're gonna import a library from an online text editor in order to get all the commands that we need to format our texts. I'm choosing TinyMCE, which has a free plan, but you could also find other ones in the internet. So let's just begin. So let's just create firstly an empty project. Let's just select an MVC template. And let's just give it a name like text editor. Click on next, and in the authentication type, we select individual accounts. Now let's just wait for the project to load. The first thing we want to do is to create a model. We're adding a class in the models folder, and we will name it doc or document for the documents that we will create in this application. So firstly, we will need an int ID property. We'll need a title of type string. Next, we'll also need a property for the content of the document. And the last thing that we need to connect our documents to a user. So firstly, we'll need the user ID property. And the next, we need to specify the foreign key. So the foreign key is the user ID. And this user ID is connected to our identity user model that is created when we firstly created the project, when we typed authentication type to be as individual accounts. And now we can just make these two properties nullable. And we can write on top of the user ID property, we can write there, we can put it as required so that a document cannot exist without its user. So if it happens for us to delete the user, this makes the documents of the user to be deleted as well, which I basically explained in the previous tutorial. Now we just need to go to the context, and there we need to specify the dbset instance for the model that we created. We'll name it docs, and we need to import the models on top of the page. So let's go to program.cs, and here we can see the services that were injected when we created the project. So we can see here that the context is connected to the connection string, and we also see here that we have the service for the identity users, which we need to specify here the confirmed account, require confirmed account to false, so that when we register a user with an account, we don't need a confirmation for that account. It will just be created. Now we are just going to create a database for our project. Let me open the SQL Server Studio. Okay, so here I need to copy the server name here. I'm going to paste it here, and then I'm just putting a name for our database. which I just make it text editor data. So we have created a database in the SQL Server Studio. And here in the window below, we can copy the connection string. Let's just go to app-settings.json, the default connection string that was put here when we created the project. Let's just substitute it here. And I'm also going to need to specify the encrypt to false here, because when we connect to the database, we don't have a password for the database or some kind of encryption. And all that is left to do right now is just adding the migrations to the database. So I'm going to Package Manager console. And down here, just add migration and a name for the migration. Build succeeded. Now we just need to update the database as usual. Okay, everything seems okay. I'm just gonna go to the controllers and I'm gonna add the one controller we need for this project. I'm making it with views, so there will be views auto-generated and the CRUD operations as well. I'm gonna just specify here the model class and the context. And the name, I'm gonna leave it as docs controller. So our controller is created with the actions or the methods. We actually are not going to need the details action here and the view page as well, because just like in Google Docs, for example, when you click on a document, you go to an edit link. So you just go to a link, being able to edit it. Okay, we're not going to need this line here in the edit method. So what I'm going to do here in the edit and in the delete method, I'm going to make it so only the user that has created the document can be able to edit or delete it. So this is something we've seen in the previous tutorials as well. So if we write this line here, so if the document.userid is not equal to the user that is currently logged in the application, then we're gonna return a not found page. So user.find first value, and in brackets we're gonna specify the claim types that name identifier, which just basically just gets the username, the user ID for the user that is currently logged in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put it in the delete method as well, so that only the users that have the user that create the document can be able to delete it or to edit it. Because if we leave it by default just like that, if the user has the link, it can go and edit or delete somebody else's document. So I'm just running the project firstly just to see what we've got there, and so that I can just register a user firstly, so that I can start working, because I'm going to need to connect each document that we create with a specific user. So I'm just going to register a user here. I usually use the Sean email. I don't know why. And just giving it a password here. Below as well. And so we are logged in as Sean here. let me just go to the docs link, which takes us to the controller, to the index view of the controller. And now let's just keep working with the method. Okay, so firstly, I'm just gonna put the authorized tag on top of the class, so that I'm gonna need to import here the authorization on top of the page, and so this just makes it so only the users that are authenticated can access this controller. And let me just start with the create method. Firstly, I don't need this line here. So I'll start with the create method. I'm just going to go to the create view page next, because this is okay. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to delete a few labels because I think it looks better on the page. And if you also know Google Docs, for example, you just don't have a label for the content or for the text, you just have a place to put them. I'm just giving the title a value of untitled document, which basically just, so when you don't put a name to your document, it just print it as untitled document. Removing the label down here. And actually, to get the user, we just need an input firstly of type hidden, so the user don't see the user ID. The tag here has to be user ID. And the way we can get the user ID of the current logged in user, we just need to import the ASP.NET identity on top of the page. So Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.identity. And we also need to inject here the user manager. We've seen this before in the previous videos. It takes an identity user as a parameter. And then I'm just giving it a name here. So I'm just taking the user that is currently logged in the application and doing it by typing user manager that get user ID of the current user. And what we're going to do now here, we're going to just fix the input. The input is going to be a text area actually. So for the content of the document, we're going to need the text area tag with the ASP4 attribute as content to connect it to the content. And now we're going to need to open up Google. We're going to find an online text editor online, which this one that I'm taking here is TinyMCE, which allows you to import the application. So I'm copying these tags here. What this basically allows you to have some way in your text area to edit your text. I'm going to the layout page to put them in the head tags. And here we can see here the no API key that we have here, which basically is just like a free way to use this library, but we could also register in the application and take an API key. Here, this application has this page that we visited has various packages for different things, for different plans. And here, just making a dot here to to separate these lines, and as we can see, there are different plugins to this library. Here in the text area, we just need to write the ID of Tiny. And if we try to view the create page now in the browser, we will see that in our text area, there will be some comments that allow us to edit our text, just like in a Word or in Google Docs. As you can see, we have some. So we have this warning here because, as we can see in the page of this TinyMCE, there are different plans here. We could sign up for a free plan and take the API key, but I'm just not doing it because so that the tutorial don't take long. Different websites have different kind of plans. So in the styling, I'm gonna make the width to be a bit bigger. I'm gonna make it like 60 view width, and the height to be like 80 of the view height. What I could do here is I could also put a link for our delete button. You just need to specify the action to be the delete, the text here to be delete or something. And we need to specify the ASP route ID for the ID of the model that we want to delete, which is going to be the @model.id. And I'm just giving it a class of button and button danger to make it like a red button, which what usually the delete buttons look like. I'm just giving it a margin of 2. And down in the back to list link, I'm going to give it a class to look like a button and button info, which is a light blue color. I'm just running the application to see how this looks like. Okay, I've got an error here because we have no model created yet, no document, and it cannot take us to the route that we specified for the delete button. So I'm just going to need to comment this out for the moment. And if I run the application, we should see our other changes that we did. So as we can see, we have the section for the content is a bit bigger. I could give here this button also a bit of the margin on top, set it to 3. And I'm just going to delete these headers here both because I think it looks better without them. So in the docs controller now, we can I'm going to see the post method for the create. It looks good. I just don't need here this. Okay, I'm just going to the edit now, to the edit view page. I'm deleting these headers on top. Okay, I'm deleting a few labels as well. So the content has to be a text area. So this is similar to the one that we had in our create page. So I just copied that. So I'm going to need to fix the way we take the user ID as well. So this got to be an input tag of type hidden so that we don't see the user ID, and this will be connected to the user ID. Okay, I can change the back to list anchor here as well, making it like a light blue color with a bit of margin on top. Let me run the application. Actually, I need to create firstly a document so that we can see what we do in our edit page. Just something about technology, I don't know. Just an example. So I'm copying this down. I'm pasting it here. I'm going to delete this warning that appears often here. I'm just going to make a bit of changes to the text so that we can see that the exact changes that we make are saved then later. Okay, I'm just making them. I don't know, you can play around with the tools you have here. It's just like Word. I can make the font larger. So we just have different things here, different menus that we can work with. Okay, so we haven't actually fixed the index view, but I'm going to do it later. You can just go to the edit link with the ID of 1. Okay, as we can see, so the text is just the way we created it with our modifications that we did to it. Okay, so actually we could change a few things. So this delete link that I had before here, it wouldn't make sense to put it in a create page. And of course, you can put it in an edit page, but I don't know why I put it there before. So I'm just pasting it here, uncomment this, and this route now can be accessible. Let me just run this. I'm just gonna put these two inputs, these two buttons inside the form group so they are aligned better and giving it a margin to the left so they are in the same line. So we fixed the create and the edit view and methods. Now we're gonna need to fix the index view. I'm just going to delete this whole table thing. I'm going to create a big button to create a blank document. So I'm putting this inside a div firstly, this anchor. So inside the anchor, I'm going to put a plus sign. So I'm going to make the div flex box. I'm making the content to be centered horizontally and vertically with these two bootstrap classes. So the line items makes it centered in the vertical direction. As for the styling, I'm gonna put the width to something like 150 pixels and the height to 200 pixels. So I'm giving it a background color of like light gray. And for the font size of the plus sign that I'm gonna make later, I'm giving it a size of 100 pixels. And here in this anchor tag, I'm gonna write the plus sign. And because the anchors are usually blue and underlined, I'm just gonna set here the text decoration to none so that it won't be underlined. And I'm just gonna need to specify the color so that the anchor is not blue, which is by default blue. It is by default blue. Let me just run this firstly, and we should just be able to see a button to have a blank document. So that's what I wanted to see. So if we click on it, we can go to the create page. As you can see now. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add a span below it so it says the name. So like blank document, and when we will create our own documents, we'll display there the title of the document. So just like blank document, and I'm putting there, I'm making it bold. So in the stylings, I'm just making the font weight to bold. Okay, now I'm gonna need, okay, so I firstly just write an HR tag. So it's just a big underline. So it separates the create new document to the other documents. So I'm gonna need a loop here, a for each loop for each var item in the model. So this loops through each document model that we store in the database. And for each document, firstly, I'm just copying what we did here above for a bit of structure. And of course, I'm gonna change a few things. So the color, I'm gonna make it like light blue. And the action is gonna be edit, and the ASP route ID is gonna be the ID of that model, of that document. So at item.id, and inside here, I'm just going to need to add I think to add a text emoji, which I'm going to find in the internet. So just like a paper emoji or something. So let's just see this one. I'll try to copy this. It looks okay, actually. Then I'm putting it here. I'll put it here. Okay, I need to add the span for the title of the document. So I'm gonna make the style to the font weight to bold as well. And I'm gonna take then the document's title. This is basically just like, in Word, when you have Word documents in your desktop, you see the Word logo and just the title of your document. That's just the idea of it. Okay, so, and then I'm gonna need to make all of this in a column, in a div, in a class with a column, class, and I'm gonna set it to 2. So this is a bootstrap class that takes 2 out of 12 imaginary bootstrap lines. So in a line, we're going to be able to fit 6 different objects. And outside the loop, I'm going to put this column class divs inside the row class div. So basically each row is going to take 6 documents. Okay, if we reload this, we're going to be able to see just one because we created only one document. That's what we actually did before. So this works now. And as I said, a line could take up to 6 documents. Let me just create a new one. I'll name it something else. ASP.NET, I don't know. Code, the future. Okay, so I'm out of ideas. I'm just typing something, whatever, so that we can see how the next document will be showed. And there we can see the title of the document and the same image for the icon. When we click on it, we see our document just the way we edited it, with our comments to edit. Okay, so if we go to program.cs, I'm just going to change the default controller to the documents controller, to the docs controller. So each time we run the application, we go directly to the docs controller. Here in the layout, I'm just going to delete that privacy tab. And I could just specify here the home tab to be connected to the documents controller. So I can connect the text editor icon of the application to the docs controller and the home tab. So now what is else left for us to do is that we can change the index method so it only loads up the documents that each user makes. So if I log in as a user, I'm going to see only my documents. And if another user logs into the application, he will see nothing if he has created nothing, or it's the documents that the user has created. I'm just changing these lines a bit here. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to loop through with this. I'm going to loop through the context.docs with this link query lines that we have talked before. So this just loops through the context of documents in the database. And then in this variable that we had above, we're going to specify, so we're going to take only the documents that are of a specific user. So that where. So here we will take the documents that their user ID is equal to the ID of the user that is currently logged into the application. So with this line, user.find first value of the claim types dot name identifier. Here we are just taking the ID of the currently logged in user, and we will just take the documents that are of that specific user. So I'm running here the application, and we should not see any changes to the index method. But how are we going to be able to see the changes is if we create a new user now. We can register, we'll log out first. We can register with another user firstly. Just like a name, I don't know, Billy. And when we firstly log in the application, we will see nothing. We will see only the option to create a new blank document. And then if we create another document, we will see only the documents that are created by Billy. So I'm just going to try to create a new document here. And this could be a useful application because if you log in the application from different computers, you could be able to see your documents that you have worked on and also download them, which we will see a bit later. As we can see, we have here the document that we created by Builder. And I think I'm just gonna try and test the delete button here because I forgot to do until now. So I'm just gonna change a bit the user interface because it's a little messed up. So I don't need the user ID to be displayed. And as for the content, I could display it again in a text area tag. I'll just copy this from the edit view page. And I think that's okay. I'm gonna try to fix a lot of things here. It doesn't really matter. You can just play around with it. So, okay, so we see exactly the content of the document that we will delete. And if we try to delete it, it will be gone. Okay, so I'm just gonna log into the Sean account one more time. We had the two documents that we saw before. And what I'm gonna show you now is what I was talking about before. So we have an option in our commands to modify the text that we input here. So we have an option under Files, Print, and we can actually print our documents, which would be really useful if you make this. This could be a real application. So just like the Google Docs, you can. Okay, I'm just putting here a file name. You can just open up the application from different computers, and you can print out your files there. So I'm just going to see. Okay, we have here the Sean document was printed as a PDF. And here we see what we wrote before. So this was it for this video. This was how you could create an online text editor in ASP.NET Core. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and make sure to stick around for the upcoming videos.